Welcome back to the Legacy Podcast. My name is Olisya Grant, co-founder of Matrix Legacy Inc. We are back for episode number 50.
Wow, 50.
Yes, and in light of making it all the way to this milestone, as you can hear, we've got our special co-host, my husband, Tyler Grant, here to join us today.
Glad to be back for this episode. It's going to be amazing.
Definitely. And this episode is going to be, I'm going to say, a special edition because our name is Matrix Legacy. We talk about building a legacy, and we really want to do a deep dive into what that means today. So before we go ahead and do that, I just want to thank every single one of you for being here, whether you've been here from episode 1 or you just tuned in. Regardless of where you are in your journey, we appreciate you being here.
All the love, all the support, everything.
Exactly, and we definitely don't take that for granted. So as I said, diving in today, the topic that we wanted to talk about more than anything is how to build a legacy, because legacy feels like a buzzword. It feels like something that people just say without actually understanding the meaning behind it. And before we even go there, I keep saying before, but before we even go there, sometimes we get questions in regards to what does Matrix Legacy mean? What is that? And so really just want to start there. So for those of you who are new or those of you who have been around for a while, maybe that's something we haven't addressed or you don't understand yet. So we kind of just want to do a little dive into that. What is Matrix Legacy Inc. in itself? So do you want to take it away? What Matrix Legacy means?
Yeah, for sure. So Matrix Legacy is just an acronym in terms of what each letter of legacy stands for. So the first letter that we have is L, which stands for leadership. And we always talk about, being the leader that people want to follow, making sure that you are a leader, that you are putting leadership at the forefront of everything, which is why we wanted to make sure that when building a legacy that you start off in a leadership position or being or considering yourself a leader.
Absolutely. And Matrix, even before the first L, is basically a homage to our mentor, Mr. Byron Nelson. Started an organization for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people who wanted to create an impact. And so that's why we connected the Matrix in there. And then legacy, of course, is what we want to leave behind. And as my husband said, the first letter, obviously, leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And then the second letter there is the E, excellence. So we don't believe that you can... we'll get into what legacy in itself means, but if you're intentionally leaving a legacy, there has to be an element of excellence. The average, what everybody else is doing, that's not going to leave an impactful legacy. It's that little extra. It's that striving to be the best version of yourself. That's what's going to help leave you an impacting and lasting legacy.
Absolutely. So now the next one is G, which stands for growth. So we always talk about personal development, growing yourself, growing out of your surroundings, making sure you're becoming the best person every single day, where that 1% every single day will lead to 365% better every single year. So that's where the G is very, very crucial when it comes to the first letter, which is L in leadership, and then of course E standing for excellence. You got to make sure you're growing every step of the way, which is where the G comes into effect, understanding that you cannot be the person that you're looking to attract that you want to be if you're not willing to grow and go through the tough times as well as the good times.
Absolutely. And then the A is for action. A lot of us might think about what we want our legacy to be, or we might think about the things that we want to do. But what separates the good from the great is the actions that we're taking every single day, and the mindful actions, not the things that just happen by accident or life is pushing us around. It's we make a plan and we decide to act on it every single day in every one of our interactions. And so that's why the A in legacy for us anyways stands for action.
Absolutely. And then now after all that, one of the most important things as well is when it comes to C, which stands for culture. What kind of culture are you setting for people to be successful? What do people think about you when they look at what you're building or what you have or what you're looking to achieve? So you have to make sure you have a strong foundation when it comes to people that are actively looking to build businesses, build teams, or whatever you're doing, to have a solid culture that people can love, respect, and want to be a part of.
Absolutely. And even just adding on to that, what do people think about when they think about you? That's a part of the culture that you're creating. As soon as your name comes up, or your company, your brand, what do people associate that with? And so what is the first thing that people think of when they think about you? That's a big part of your culture. And speaking about you, that's exactly what the Y stands for, is you, because you are the only one who can leave a legacy for yourself, for your family, for whoever's following behind you, regardless of, and this goes back even to the first letter of leadership and legacy is, regardless of if you see yourself as a leader or not, you're impacting somebody somewhere, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so the only person that can take accountability, the only person that can make changes, the only person that can really be in charge of what it is that you're leaving behind is you. And so you have to be at the center front. And this goes so many levels deep in terms of health and wellness. Are you taking care of that? Because that's a big part of you. Are you taking care of your finances? Are you being mindful of your relationships and things of that nature? So really the foundation of all of this, it always comes back to you and what you decide that you want to do with your legacy.
Absolutely. And then it's crazy where, as of course everybody knows, we're expecting a new addition to our growing family, of course, and we always get that. How has maybe your legacy or what you believe to be your legacy or what you wanted to build towards, has it really changed or has it stayed the same? Of course, nothing will stay the same. Of course, everything will change. But I think it's just personally for me, just understanding that it just feels now more real. It feels now more, of course, what we have always talked about, what we've always envisioned, what we are always wanting to plan for. It's just now coming to the forefront in terms of God's timing, in terms of what we believe. But just understanding that, now it's time to go even harder. It's time to grind even further, making sure that we can put the right steps in place, not looking behind, but just keep going forward, in terms of how that's inspiring me to keep going harder every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a sermon that we were put onto a couple of months ago, and it's by Pastor, hold on, let me get the name right, Brian M. Bullock.
Oh,
and
yes.
it's all about leaving a legacy. And there's one line in there that's so powerful to me. He says, legacy, there's power in your name.
Oh, yes.
And if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't, I'm going to leave the link for y'all to check it out. It is so incredibly powerful. And I think what gets missed is people don't realize that whether you try to or not, you're still going to leave a legacy.
Whether you like it or not.
The way that you're showing up every single day is always a part of your legacy. It's what are people going to be able to say about you? How many lives have you impacted, whether it be for the good or the bad?
Yes.
You can look at the greatest, the superstars, or the biggest villains in this world, and they've all left a legacy, whether it's good or bad. So little things like, and I'm really referencing the sermon here. I truly hope that you guys take a look at it.
But you have to watch that video. It's incredible.
Phenomenal. I've listened to it over and over and over.
Every morning.
And little things like, are you the person in the family who brings over the mac pie or the sweet potato pie, whatever it is? Do other people in your family know how to make that? Or does the legacy of that dish, does it die when you die? Or things like whatever financial foundation that you've set up, were you smart with your credit? Or did you, let's say you had kids, were you using their credit or giving out their credit to other friends and family? And so now they're at a disadvantage, they're set behind. What did you leave behind in your path? And I think that's the most powerful thing to understand, is that whether you try to or not, you're leaving a legacy.
Absolutely. And one thing that I never forget that he quoted, where it's like, you're not buying a product, you're buying a name. That anything that you are looking to floss or show off or stuff like that, it's not a product that you're buying, you're literally buying a brand, which is literally somebody's name. And in the video, literally, he will go over a list of popular brands that just are made of last names. And it's so crazy where it doesn't matter to the what you are, it just matters what you're leaving behind and what you stand for, and that is attached to your name.
Absolutely. And so even just building off of my husband's point from the beginning, when people ask us, how is your definition of legacy changed now that you're having a child? I don't think it's changed. I think for me, it's just going through an evolution. It's shifted a little bit. I'm still very mindful of what I'm leaving behind, but now I'm even more so mindful. Now I'm like, okay, how do I grow even faster? How do I create more? Things like this podcast, for an example, that's a part of our legacy, because let's say, God forbid, I'm taken off the planet after my child is born, then he has a reference to go back to and something to use as a foundation to build on. And he doesn't have to start from scratch and make all these mistakes over, because I've already made them, and now we're leaving this behind. What kind of investments are we making? What kind of relationships? Do people appreciate us as people? Because by default, our child gets that residual love. So if we've built up a powerful enough relationship with others, then that gets passed on to the child by default. So what connections are we making in our network? How valuable can we possibly be so that there is something powerful left behind? So for me, I'm just even, it's like a different level of consciousness now, because it's not about me anymore. Before Absolutely. It was about what am I exactly? Yeah. What are we going to leave behind? How much can we build up for us and our brand? But now it's like, how much can we possibly leave behind? How much more can we learn so we can pass along? And how do we package it in a way that it can be passed down in a easily understandable and memorable way?
Absolutely. And even just going off of that point to our next point that we always talk about, where certain people might think it might be too early or it might be too late to start leaving a legacy or start to think about that. And to be honest, I don't think that's the case. I think that's a complete lie, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter how young you are, like how we always watch videos of amazing entrepreneurs or people that are building businesses from a young age of 13 that are multimillionaires to people that haven't done anything until the age of 54, 55. If you want the best example, just look at Colonel Sanders and Warren Buffett. Those are the best two examples. So it's never too late or too early to start. It's just a matter of when are you going to start is the most important part, because you always have to run your own race. You always have to understand when it comes to the success habits, when it comes to the trials and tribulations, that no matter when you start, you're going to go through those. It's just a matter of just finishing and completing what you set out to do in the first place.
Exactly. And I mean, just to echo off of that, every single day that you wake up, you are leaving something behind. Whatever you choose to do with your day, you could leave nothing, you could leave crumbs, but then you're still leaving something because somebody saw you or somebody's hearing when you say, oh, I didn't do anything, or I'm really comfortable where I am. I don't want to try anymore. I don't want to advance in my career. I don't want to build something. That's part of the legacy that you're building. And so whatever age, whatever day, whatever time you decide to consciously build your legacy, that's when you're actively building. It's going to be built regardless, but now you are choosing to build it and create, again, back to that word of impact. And so there's no right age. A lot of people look at us and be like, oh, you guys are so young, you're so wise, you're so, it was just really us saying, I don't know when my time is. None of us know when our time is up. And so if you're waiting for a certain day, a certain time, you're gonna be waiting absolutely forever, and you're gonna miss out. And so if you're later on in life looking back saying, I wish that I would have done this, or I've caused so much damage or whatever, you can go back now and say, hey, listen, I've seen the future now. I'm 40 years ahead of you. I'm 20 years ahead of you. I'm 10 years ahead of you. And I've seen what happens when you make these mistakes. That's part of your legacy, when you can pass on that wisdom to other people. So that's just another word of advice, is just make sure whatever information and wisdom and experience that you're collecting, that you're sharing that with other people. Whether it be good, whether it be bad, make sure that you're sharing it so that people don't have to make the same mistakes, or they can follow the exact blueprint to get to where it is that they're looking to get to. It's all about sharing. That's how you're going to leave your legacy.
Absolutely. Just making sure you share what you're passionate about, what you love to do, what makes you happy. That's always about leaving a legacy. Every person that has truly been successful, they always wanted to solve a problem based on what they found passion about, or they do something that they're very passionate about. That's why certain athletes, they don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of the game, which is why they leave such a powerful legacy when it comes to their craft of sports, or when it comes to the very successful people that are, multi-millionaires or billionaires, whatever the case may be, when it comes to certain companies that they're building, just because they want to solve a problem that's in the market. In terms of revolutionizing or just changing it for the better, because there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is here. It's just a matter of what you can do to leave your impact on this world.
Absolutely. So that's the building block of the day, guys, is, are you consciously building a legacy, or are you just letting whatever fill in the blanks of your life? Because I mean, it sounds a little, people don't want to think about, the end of life, but I mean, we're all marching towards. We all know what's going to happen at the end of this journey that we're on.
Only thing that's guaranteed in this world.
That's the only thing. And so it's like, what's going to be left of you? What can you leave behind? Whether it's a business, whether it's information, whether it's, an impact, a helping hand, whatever it is. Little actions that you take. Let's say you helped somebody a year ago. There's somebody sitting down still remembering that time that you bought them a coffee, or you held the door open for them, or you gave them a hug, because they don't they don't have that, and then that might not be happening for them every single day, and that is a part of the legacy that you're leaving. So being conscious in every moment, really, the more that you appreciate this life that you get to live, the easier it becomes to figure out exactly what you need to do to create, build, and leave your legacy. So just be mindful of that. And I mean, that's really it. Just don't take this life thing for granted.
Please don't.
It's so precious and it's so fragile. So that's just our encouraging words for the day. So that's all we've got for the day, guys. If you are enjoying this content, definitely share this with a friend. Whether you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or any other podcasting platforms, you can always leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. All of that helps more people receive the same message. You can also download the Matrix Legacy app to stay up to date with all of our Matrix Legacy content, including this podcast. And that's that. So I'll be here next week with another building block for success. Until next time, let's build a legacy.
Take care, guys.